Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So today I have papers in my hand because I will be talking about overthinkers. There's no actual like medical diagnosis for overthinking. I wanted to do this video, my very first upload, on overthinking and how that affects people's day-to-day lives. I got so many responses like, oh, I'm an overthinker too, like, what do you know? And it's just like, it's actually a lot more common than we think. So this video isn't necessarily going to be about overthinkers in general, because one, my experience as an overthinker is not going to, exactly replicate somebody else's experience. I think I'm just trying to give you an example of what people like me experience. So first and foremost, I just want to say that overthinking affects pretty much every facet of your life, from the social interactions to overall work ethic, and to the very simple things like confidence in self, and how you manage to even take care of yourself is sometimes affected by overthinking processes of thinking too much in too much detail about one particular concern. So I guess I'll start with the juicy stuff first. So relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic, when it comes to relationships, I have a hard time maintaining, gaining, and ending them, for whatever the reason may be as far as each one is concerned. So again, whether platonic or more so romantic. So I guess I'll start with the more platonic relationships. So when I say platonic, I mean friendly, just no romance involved relationships. Those kind of bonds that you share with people, they appear to be easier and more genuine than a romantic relationship. But what I'm starting to notice is, as I get older, my patience wears thin, not just for the men that I deal with, because I do identify as a heterosexual, cisgendered woman, but even the friends that I do have, I find that I can be just as irritable or just as annoyed by a series of events that happens in my friendships just as often as I can with my actual relationships. So I say this to say that me personally, I kind of carry in the same attributes I would with a romantic partner as I would a friend. The expectations are pretty much the same. I do care about reciprocity. That's my number one rule of any relationship that I uphold. And so how overthinking kind of plays a role in that is, I'm always thinking of ways to make sure a person can stay in my life. So I replay, interactions that me and that other person share, just to kind of see, it sounds crazy when I say it out loud, but it's just to kind of see, is this friendship going to be something that can withstand itself? Can it last a long time? Or is this going to be a short-term thing where I just kind of know you, we go out for drinks occasionally, and, by the time you and I both graduate, or by the time, one of us decides to up and leave the state, that'll just be the very end of our relationship. It's a very sad thing to think about. But then, the flip side of that is oh, well, I mean, I feel like every time we bond, we really bond and it's genuine. And even if this person were to up and leave physically, the relationship would sustain itself. So, but an overthinker tends to kind of obsessively think about that bond. And that's what makes it weird, if that makes sense. As far as creating new relationships go, as far as gaining new relationships, I feel I have a hard time I don't know. I think I'm so concerned with like making that person like me so much that it's like, it gets weird. Like they don't notice it, but I notice it. Like I notice that, you know, I'm cracking a joke every like 5 minutes, or like, you know, I'm saying something to come off as like real cool and like real unbothered, and, you know, just like little knickknacks like that. That to me is an odd feat of myself. Like, ideally, I would just like to be in a space where I meet somebody and we just kick it off because that's what the organic vibe calls for, and that's it and that's all. But me, you know, I kind of go that extra mile to kind of create this ambiance of like coolness. Again, that's what happens when you overthink things. Like you always try to have control over a situation, and you always try to think of the 10 steps ahead of worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, this relationship doesn't work out. Let me prep myself for if this relationship doesn't work out. So I'll subconsciously do things like distance away. Like if I feel like the relationship is not going to work out, I'll do things like talk to you less, or like try to hang out with you less. It's a very weird thing. And I feel like one of the weirdest things about my obsessive thinking and my intrusive thought process is that I always think that the way that I'm thinking is weird, but it's the way that I think. And I don't know anything else other than that. So how would I even know that that's weird? See, that's where you start to get headaches and everything like that. It's like I'm laughing, but it's like I'm laughing through pain. I really exhaust myself just being myself. Like, okay, cool. Ending relationships are really hard for me. Let me backtrack. Ending relationships that I want to keep are very hard for me. Relationships that I don't really care for because of, you know, for whatever the reason, I feel like that person is weird, toxic, whatever the case may be. And again, this is for platonic and romantic. But it's like, if I don't want the relationship to end, like that's when it gets a little weird, because it's just like, why though? Like, why? All right, my fault, y'all. I just had to make sure the thing was recording. Like with this camera, you can't really tell. So I had to physically get up and be like, is this recording? Okay, cool. I don't even remember where I was at, but in a nutshell, relationships are the way overthinkers interact with relationships. They're going to always be thinking about what happens if this doesn't work out. What does our relationship look like if it does work out? It's just 50 million thoughts going in your head when you should really just be concerned with having a good time. Yeah, been there, tried that. Overthinkers like myself are usually easily discouraged because they feel like they just feel like there were so many ways to tackle one accomplishment, and then they start to weigh whether or not the tactic that they took on was the best option. So their confidence in their work and their just like overall work ethic, in their minds, it's diminished and it's poor, even if you appear to be performing well to those who supervise you, or to those who have just kind of like stood by the wayside and watched you just perform. People that tell you you do great, you don't necessarily agree or believe it, because you're constantly thinking about what that other person did and how they got there compared to like what you do. You're always in some type of internal competition, and that is what happens when a person is overthinking all the time. Even when they're told that they're doing the absolute best, or they're doing one of the best, they still feel like they're doing the worst, and there always is somebody doing better. And that really affects your self-esteem, like your overall like demeanor. That's why it's like I have to beat confidence in myself, because, you know, I mean, that's just the way my brain is set up. It's so sad. But I would just like to add in that this video by no means is supposed to be like a sob story, a sad story. I should have said this at the beginning, and I'll do better with this as I, start to film more and more, or record more and more. I don't even know the terminology for this. With the work ethic, I mean, overthinking even affects your ability to set goals. Like, I noticed on New Year's Eve, when everybody was asking me what my New Year's resolution was, I really couldn't come up with anything that was intangible. So for example, like, my resolutions for this year was to get a car, get a job in my career, in my desired career, and get my degree. Those are things that are just supposed to happen just in life, because that's the way that, I guess, the economy, the life that I lead, I guess those things are supposed to happen. So people are like, it's not a real resolution. Whereas I had some people, give me examples of theirs, and they were telling me like, oh, well, one thing that I'm trying to do is be more organized, or I'm trying to be more honest, and just, I'm trying to say that the goals that I have set compared to what other people have set, the goals are based on what people can see me doing as opposed to what I can see myself doing. Because, okay, sure, I can see myself getting my degree, but so can my mother, my grandmother, everybody on my dad's side. Like, everybody can see what it is that I'm doing. Whereas, me being more honest and me being more blunt about what it is that I want in life, only I can really know the truth behind that, if I'm seriously achieving that goal or not. So it was just very interesting. And then it was so funny. Facebook is, it has that application or that feature where you can go back and look at what you posted years ago from that same exact day. And I saw on New Year's Eve of like 2011, I posted a status that was like, I have no New Year's resolutions. I was the same exact way in going into 2018. 2011 to 20 care, because I do want to wrap this up. I don't want this to be too extensive of a video. Because like I said, this is more of a personal experience, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not going to account for other people's experiences of overthinking and things like that. So, self-care can manifest in many different ways. People listen to music as a form of self-care, but I do that on the regular. I'll get on the bus, I'll put in my headphones. To me, that's not the kind of self-care that I need. I already listen to music. Music is a part of my everyday life. So I need to do other things. One of the things that I love to do is create. I love to see what my hands are capable of doing. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a fashion designer / pediatrician. I don't know how that was gonna work, but that's where my mind was. Nonetheless, I used to draw designs of clothes and what particular hairstyles would have went with the outfits, and I used to, add shoes and other accessories and things like that. I was very much so into dress and attire. I really like those things. So what I did was I decided to circle back and start again and do it all over again as if I was a child. And I love to see the end product. It may not be the best sketch, or it may not look as nice as like people who are actually fashion majors or people who are in the industry. But I get a kick out of seeing like the things that my physical hands and my brain are able to kind of combine and work together to create. I feel like I'm creating something with y'all, like, provided I get get an audience, but I still feel like I'm creating something. Like when I posted the first video of me just like introducing the channel, I got a real kick out of editing and like fixing things around and adding music in and putting in imagery and creating logos, and all of those things are really fun to me because I'm activating my brain and I'm making my brain kind of put a vision to real life. It's just a beautiful thing for me. But there are other ways that people engage in self-care as well. Like, I mean, people do spa days. Sometimes people can't afford to actually go to a spa. So what they'll do is, they have their girls over for girls' night, and they'll do face masks. you know, they'll like eat the cucumbers off their eyelids. I don't know. All that stuff, like, you have options. There are, you know, classes that you can do with like painting with a twist. You could, I mean, working out should just be a part of like livelihood. It should just be something that you do anyway, but it can be a part or a portion of your self-care for sure. But you should just be working out in general. What else? People do photography. Sorry, somebody's like knocking at the door and I can't tell if you can hear it, but it's not my door, it's my neighbor's door. Anyway, yeah, so like you just have all of these, I mean, you can write poetry, you can just write how you're feeling. Wow, this person is like really adamant about getting in that door. Sis, they're probably not even home. Anyway, yeah, it's just, you have so many options, like, honestly, you really do. And if you are an overthinker with obsessive and intrusive thoughts, you definitely need to engage in self-care, most definitely, because half the things that you're thinking about, completely irrational. Irrational could be possible. It's possible that these events could happen, but they're irrational, and that you start to like make up stories in your head, and it could just get really weird. So instead of things getting really weird, when you notice yourself starting to overthink, the way that you can remove yourself from that situation is to engage in self-care. Whatever measures you need to take, you need to do, with the exception of drug abuse. No harm to anybody or yourself. Don't do that. Actually take care of yourself and others around you. So don't like hurt anybody. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but you know, I'm just putting that out there. People options, and some of them are cheap. I won't say free, because nothing's really free in life, but you have some very cheap alternatives. I mean, people can do the extreme by paying to go to a spa, or again, you can eat some cucumbers off your eyelids. Either way, you're getting what you need out of that moment. So thank you for watching this video. People say subscribe to my channel if you like what you see, but also feel free to leave a comment. I'm like legitimately trying to like memorize what people say. Leave a comment down below leave a comment down below for a potential topic to talk about. And I'll see if I can talk about it. And if I personally can't talk about it, again, like I will get somebody on the channel to really help me out and to dissect that issue. But I appreciate you guys viewing. So yeah, subscribe, and then there's like a little notification thing you can click. That way you know when I uploaded a video immediately. Feel free to have that little dinger on. I do it for people that I'm absolutely obsessed with on YouTube. If you're not there with me yet, that's totally fine too. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.